Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. Today is Wednesday, May 31st, 2023. My name's Jeremy, and this is my first cup. I hope you are well. I'm so glad that you're here. Who is here? Let's say good morning to Frank, Mark, Brian, Kelly, and the rest of you out there, whether you're watching now or maybe some point later on. I know there are a lot of you who catch this show later in the day. I appreciate watching. And of course, those of you who listen to our audio feed, thank you as well. How was your Tuesday? Did you, like me, have a bit of a difficult transition in from the long weekend? If you were a long weekender here in the US. I got to the office and it was pretty much the last thing I wanted to do was work. And this is something I want to make sure that everybody understands. Just because you love your job doesn't mean you want to do it 24/7. Good morning also to Tommy and Jenny. But I didn't quit just because I didn't want to. Doesn't mean it didn't. In the end, I caught up on email, which for a Tuesday was very surprising. And that was really good. And I went to a chiropractic appointment, which also was very good. Went to the gym for a little bit, came back, and realized it's that time of year where I need to start keeping a bathing suit and a towel in the car. Do you call it a bathing suit or a swimsuit? It really should be a swimsuit. I don't know why anybody calls it a bathing suit. I'm going to try to change that in my vocabulary. It's a swimsuit. Where at the time of year where you need to keep a swimsuit and a towel in your car? Yeah. Because I would have stopped at the river and jumped in instead of taking a shower after the dinner. That would have been much more enjoyable. Good morning. No, I already said good morning to Frank. Frank's posting again. And my brain is just off. I did not sleep. Well, I thought I slept well. I felt like I slept well. But I think maybe I woke up mid-cycle or something because my brain's a little bit out of it. So, pardon me. Maybe. Oh. Tommy, that makes more sense. Tommy says right next to the fishing pole. Yeah, exactly. Those sorts of things. But I've got a towel and a swimsuit already out. Put them in the car today and see what happens. What did you do yesterday? I would love to know. Good morning, Stacy. Jenny says she trained twice yesterday and learned more of her new form. Also spent time outside blowing bubbles with Lilith. I didn't finish my to-do list, but I do not regret the way I spent my time. Blowing bubbles with a kid seems like a pretty great way to pass time. Stacy says she's fresh back from taking the trash and recycling out and giving the plants a watering before the sauna. Yeah, it's gonna be hot. Let's see. Let's have that morning check-in. It's already 52 degrees, which if you don't know, for it to be 50 degrees at 6:30 in the morning in May, this is early and warm. I've got all the windows open. Only thing I closed last night was the window in the bedroom because of noise, and I closed the slider because it's the only one the animals can really get into. But today it is supposed to be 88. Tomorrow, 92. Once it cools down tomorrow, which is basically never, I might put some plants out. We'll see. And Kelly agrees with me. She says, so true about not wanting to work 24/7. Sometimes I tell students there are days I don't feel like teaching, but people are expecting me, so I show up. Yeah. And if you know anything about Kelly, you know that she loves teaching. Did spend a bunch of time yesterday, bit of time, working on behind the scenes sorts of things for the upcoming martial arts school. So that was great. I will hopefully get into some more of that today. Looking forward to that. It's a lot to do. Starting a business from scratch is a lot of work. And I'm very fortunate. I've got a team that can help me put all those pieces together. Tommy says that bubbles are great in Kung Fu class too. And Jenny responds, we have used them in Taekwondo, but you have to do that in outside classes. Why? It's just so, you just mop down the floor after. Kelly has an automatic bubble machine and the students enjoy that. Wow. And Stacy says 3 days of 90 plus predicted up here. Yuck. Yeah, this is like the third year in a row that we're getting a heat wave, which is 3 days in a row of 90 degrees or more before summer officially starts here in Vermont. Good morning, Gad. Kelly, it's supposed to be much cooler on Saturday. Jenny says, kids have slipped on the mats from the bubbles. Okay. I can see that. I get it. So here's a little secret. So my coffee, right? Remember when I wasn't drinking coffee? I'm still not doing much in the way of caffeine. I may have one caffeinated drink a day. But on the days that I really need to motivate myself, or the days that I'm like today where I didn't sleep really well and I'm just kind of put a little bit of chocolate flavored monk fruit sweetener. If you're familiar with stevia, you know, it can have that taste that you're just like, eh. Monk fruit is where it's at. Monk fruit is great. Far less of an artificial taste, and a couple drops in my coffee with my cream, and it's pretty good. So what else do I want to tell you? I have the worst luck with landscapers, it seems. I may be going out to buy a riding lawnmower just to deal with my own lawn, which I did not want to do. But it might happen. We'll see. Kelly says, we'll also use water guns in class. Sometimes I just, quote, shoot students. Sometimes we do it for gun self-defense. I've heard. But yes, sometimes the floor gets a bit slippery. I would love to know, let's do this, because it's going to be a hot day. What are your summer martial arts training traditions? Once a summer, the school I grew up in, we would cancel classes because the place we had classes was right next to the town beach. You know, maybe 500 feet from the town beach. And so a sign would go up, or inevitably, somebody would just stand there and say, go to the beach, go to the beach, go to the beach. And we would get out and we would train at the beach. And it was usually on a day like today that, you know, it was going to be 90, 95 degrees. And if you've taught classes in a non-air conditioned space, which this was not air conditioned, and most of the time we were in there, the building went through some phases. Most of the time we were in there, the windows did not open. So you had two doors that were not opposing. So you had nothing for breeze. So you'd have a couple fans and it didn't do much. And so what that did, which I found fascinating, was that people would show up on hot days and hope. Like, I'm going to go to class. I'm really going to hope we're going to have water class, what we would call it. The answer was we usually didn't. But just that bit of hope made people show up. Tommy says, water balloon blocking. Jenny says, practice slow and controlled movements and balance with cups of water. Back when I had my school years ago, we had one water class. Very few people showed up. It was an ungodly hot day. I think 3 or 4 people showed up. And I said, hey, where's there? Because we don't have very much in the way of lakes in Vermont. Growing up in Maine, there were lakes everywhere. But here in Vermont, we have rivers. And I said, because I'd only been around a little while. And I said to one of the students, I said, where can we go and train in the river? And they knew a spot. And so the 4 of us took off and had a water class. I don't remember anything else other than where we went and 2 of the 3 people who were there with me. But it was fun. Jenny says she loves beach training. And Tommy says throw water balloons. The kids circle, block them, or Tai Chi. Okay. Kelly says it, and I think this is an interesting thing to think about. Due to one of our spaces being so hot is why I started allowing t-shirts in class. For each location, I organized a fun beach day. Sometimes at one of my locations, there's a creamy stand close by, and we walk over for a treat. For those of you who are not from Vermont, creamy is what we call soft serve ice cream. It has a higher milk fat content, and it's amazing. And also, there is no consensus on how to spell the word. What else? So what am I going to do today? So I'm going to work. May go to the gym. I may use the gym as the river as motivation to make myself go to the gym. I do have a call with my coach tonight. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I think this is a day where I'll be honest, I don't feel that I'm going to be super productive. I've got stuff to do. I've got plenty of stuff to do, to be honest. But it's just not feeling like I'm going to crank. Now, I could be wrong. There have been plenty of days where I sit down and I'm like, excuse me, and an hour in, I'm doing great. But I've learned I've got to allow myself some space and not set the bar too high all the time because it's unsustainable. Stacy says, using her actual office space as motivation this week. It has AC. My house only has it in one room. I do okay with this place without air conditioning. I do have a wall unit that I can put in if need be, but curtains go a long way. Modern windows go a long way, and keeping the windows open at night so that temperature of the house comes down, and then locking everything up before I leave, it keeps it pretty cool. Although the housekeeper will be here, house cleaner, and she runs it around like a mad woman, so it's probably going to be hot. She's probably going to heat it up herself. Well, yay, Jenny. All right. I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to dip into the stuff that Frank sent us. Thank you, as always, to Frank for all that you do. Thank you to Josh for our theme song and to Denise for the audio. What did Frank send us? Here we go. Don't ever put your happiness in someone else's hands. They'll drop it. They'll drop it every time. It's from someone named Christopher Barzak. Barzak? I'm going to say Barzak. I don't know who Christopher Barzak is, but I agree. Don't ever put your happiness in someone else's hands. They'll drop it. They'll drop it every time. It is very easy to put your happiness on someone else. This happens, I think we can say often. in romantic relationships. And I think it is the downfall of many romantic relationships. Because when you start out, it's very easy to just be enamored with someone else. And they do their thing and you do your thing, and you're supporting their happiness and vice versa. And all it takes is one person to, they don't even have to drop it, to just kind of fumble the ball. And then people start pulling back. But the relationship was built on supporting each other's happiness, or creating each other's happiness. Maybe it's a better way to put it. It doesn't work. And I see it happen with parents investing all of their happiness in their kids. That doesn't work either. Oh, Stacy says he's an American short story author. Great. Love it. Thank you. Tommy says nothing ruins a relationship faster than unmet expectations. So true. Very true. And I'm trying to remember who says this. It's a name I would recognize. Anyway, you take care of you for me, and I'll take care of me for you, which I think is a much healthier way to do it. Also works out because I'm used to taking care of me. I've not grown up as someone who others take care of. On the rare instances it happens, it's nice. And let's break this out to martial arts, right? Obviously, it has to change a little bit. What about training? There comes a point where you have to be in charge of your own training. And I don't mean that involves you changing schools or starting a school. It doesn't have to happen that way. And it also should happen, I think, far sooner than that would happen. What do I mean by being in charge of your own training? Recognizing what you need, giving yourself what you need. The idea that a single martial arts class accommodates the martial arts educational needs of everyone in that class equally is ridiculous. It doesn't happen that way. And so there will always be people who need more or different than what the class offers. And there will always be people who, because the class is generally going to cycle through different things, who need more or less of something. The instructor may be able to recognize that, but can't do anything about that. But who can do something about it? You. You have to be in charge of your own education. That means practicing at home. It means studying. It means going to class. It means asking for homework or asking for feedback. There are a lot of ways you can do this. Don't expect someone else to care more about your martial arts training than you do. Just as I've said before, no doctor's going to care more about your health than you do. No financial planner, advisor, whatever word you want to use, is going to care more about your money than you do. Your mechanic's not going to care more about your car than you do. We like to think that they do, but they don't. The stuff's all on us because they've got their own stuff. There are martial arts instructors who start teaching and they do care more about the training than their students, but guess what? That doesn't last long. Because all it takes is a few who really don't care, and it sucks the love out of it for them. And then they have to change up how they approach it. Moving on. Next. Cherish those who seek the truth, but beware of those who find it. Somebody reached out to me yesterday, and I'm going to be intentionally vague, because I never want anything that I do on this show to make someone feel bad. And on any given day, a lot of people reach out to me. So how am I going to say this? There was a conversation yesterday about truth, about this idea that, how do I say this? That because what I saw in a situation was different than what he saw in a situation, one of us had to be right. And because I don't have any credentials in the subject, he must be right. And eventually I just had to disengage. Because essentially, I guess for sort of the reason of this quote, if you're not willing to suspend belief momentarily, just to look again on basically any subject, then you paint yourself into a corner. Now, some of you may take what I'm about to say next and apply it to certain situations, and you're welcome to, but I do not mean it in any specific way. We talk about science as a tool to find answers, and science is a great tool for that. And over time, science gets better. The answers get better. They get closer to the truth. But the only how many times has science said, oh, this is the answer, and later science has found it wrong? The only thing, and here's the statement, the only thing that science has ever definitively proven at a 100% certainty level is that science is not always right. So keep that in mind. When someone says they have the answer, the likelihood that their answer is correct, quote, correct in all circumstances is very unlikely. The simpler the answer, the less likely it is true. Well, if you're in this self-defense situation, all you need to do is, that's when I probably tune out or watch a different video, something like that, right? Because it's never that simple. It's never that simple. Life is rarely that simple. Beware of those with snake oil, right? What's our last one here? It's another quote from Voltaire. The more often a stupidity is repeated, the more it gets the appearance of wisdom. We are, I guess, hardwired that the more often we hear a thing, the more likely it is to be true. Now, of course, that predates the internet and phones and any mass communication. But the hard wire is still there. If you repeat an untruth enough times, people will believe it. Some people will believe it. This kind of goes hand in hand with the last one. And we've got a lot of these in martial arts. And most of them don't matter. Lineage stuff or form stuff. Here's one. If you strike someone in the nose hard enough, it'll push the cartilage into their brain and kill them. That's not true. It'll hurt them a lot. But it's not that isn't going to happen. It's not how the nose works. Coffee. So if we take these last two and we put them together, it is all of our responsibility to read between the lines, to watch for what people say. And I would suggest have a bit of skepticism. And the more important the subject, the more you should meet it with skepticism. There is plenty of opportunity to couple logic with whatever you're able to find out on the subject with what people are saying and see if things make sense. Here's a hint. Most of what we say on the internet doesn't make sense in at least some way. Skepticism is a good way to approach things. Tommy says that came from a movie, right? The nose thing. I don't know. I don't know where that came from. I just know that it was assumed when I was a kid. Maybe. And Stacy says, I love hearing all the birds down there. Yeah, it is. They're all over the place. I'm glad the camera is picking them up for you. Kelly says, oh, yeah. The dying from a palm heel strike. I don't know how that myth ever got started, but I hear it all the time. So I'm glad you were here. Thanks for watching or listening. I appreciate you coming by. I hope you will consider supporting us, whether it be the Patreon, starts at $2 a month, or maybe pick something up at whistlekick.com using the code FIRSTCUP15. I did send out a newsletter yesterday that had all the dates for the free training days and upcoming Matic courses, and there's even more stuff that has to get added, so hanging tight on that. Got a couple more details where we update that list, and I hope to see all of you at least something. 7 more months of the year. You got time. Hope to see you. And if you're unsure what to attend, make the time for Marshall Summit. It's going to be worth it. I promise you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all of your support. Here, I can stop sharing and get access to that again. There we go. All right. Have a good one. Stay cool. I will see you tomorrow. Peace.